One of these 5 straps failed a basic stretch test in under a minute, and it's still a top seller. Stick around to see which brands actually held up and which one earned the top spot. But before we get into it, there's something you need to know that most strap videos won't tell you. The Galaxy Watch Ultra 2 just became official. Samsung announced it days ago, and it doesn't hit shelves until August. So we're not ranking these by drop-in compatibility with a watch that's barely been in anyone's hands. We're ranking them by build quality, fit engineering, and how honest each listing is about what it actually fits. That last part matters more than you'd think, because 2 of these straps were designed and sold before the Ultra 2 existed, and their listings say so. Starting at the bottom of the pack, at number 5, the ULTIMAL TPU and metal band in black and silver kicks off our list. And it's a case of solid materials undercut by a mismatched look. The band itself is soft TPU, which is the same flexible, sweat-resistant polymer most fitness straps use. It contours to your wrist instead of sitting stiff, and its resistance to skin oils means it wipes clean after a workout instead of holding on to residue. The clasp and connector are 316L stainless steel reinforced with built-in screws rather than friction-fit pins, which is a meaningfully more secure connection than the snap pin setup you'll find on bargain bin bands. There are also ventilation channels molded into the underside of the band, paired with a dual bendable metal connector, so airflow reaches your wrist during a sweaty run instead of trapping heat against your skin. The catch is cosmetic, but it's real. The silver hardware on this colorway doesn't match the darker titanium finish most Ultra 2 units ship in, so on wrist it can look like an aftermarket part instead of something that belongs there. There's also the elephant in the room. This listing is written for the Watch Ultra 47mm in its 2025 and 2024 form, not the newly announced Ultra 2. So while the 47mm case dimension carries over, Samsung hasn't confirmed there's zero change to the lug geometry. Verdict: solid materials and a legitimately reinforced clasp, but the silver on titanium mismatch and the pre-Ultra 2 listing language knock it to the bottom of this list. Good if you don't mind the color contrast and want something with real screwed-in hardware over glued or snapped parts. This next pick swaps the metal and TPU combo entirely for soft fabric, and it solves a problem the last strap doesn't even try to address. At number 4, the Nereides rugged nylon band takes the woven fabric route, and the appeal here is almost entirely about how it wears on skin over a full day. It's built from a woven nylon fabric rather than TPU or silicone, which means it breathes. There's no rubber-on-skin seal that traps sweat and heat the way solid polymer bands can on a hot day or a long run. Nereides markets it with a one-click, no-gap closure, meaning the connector is designed to sit flush against the watch case rather than leaving a visible seam where the band meets the lug. That gap is usually where dust, lint, and moisture work their way in over time on cheaper straps. The honest catch: nylon straps are adjustable by design, usually through a hook and loop or slide mechanism. And that convenience comes at the cost of the crisp, tailored fit you get from a metal link band with removable links. If you've got thin wrists, the excess strap length can flap loosely unless you tuck it carefully. Fabric bands also don't age the way metal does. They can fray at stress points with heavy daily wear, though that's a slower failure mode than a snapped pin. And like the ULTIMAL pick, this listing is written for the Watch Ultra 47mm generations released in 2024 and 2025. There's no explicit Ultra 2 language here either. Verdict: the most comfortable option here for anyone who runs hot or wears the watch through workouts, but the loose fit trade-off and the same pre-Ultra 2 listing gap keep it out of the top half. If durability and a matched aesthetic matter more to you than breathability, the next pick goes back to the same metal and TPU build as our first entry, just with one deliberate change. At number 3, the ULTIMAL TPU and metal band in black and black is functionally the same construction as the strap we opened with. Same TPU band material, same 316L stainless steel clasp, connector with built-in screws, same dual bendable metal connector and ventilation channels. What moves it up 2 spots is entirely about how it wears on the actual watch. An all-black finish reads as intentional on a titanium or black-cased Ultra, in a way mismatched silver hardware doesn't. Scuffs and micro-scratches are also far less visible on a matte black finish than on polished silver, so it tends to look newer for longer under normal wear. The catch is that you're paying for the same core hardware twice if you're comparing colorways rather than function. There's no upgraded clasp mechanism or different material here, just a finish change. That means every practical limitation from our number 5 pick carries over identically. The listing is written for the Watch Ultra 47mm 2025/2024. Not the newly announced Ultra 2, And while the case size is expected to hold, Samsung hasn't published anything confirming the lug attachment is unchanged. If matching your band to the case finish isn't a priority for you, there's genuinely no functional reason to pick this over the silver version except aesthetics. Verdict: pick this over the silver version purely for how it photographs and wears against a dark case. Functionally, you're not gaining anything else. Now we're moving away from TPU and nylon entirely and into full metal builds. And that's where the compatibility story actually starts to get more specific. At number 2, the Anlinser no-gap metal band is where things get interesting, and also where you need to read carefully. The band itself is stainless steel, and that's worth calling out directly because the listing's color name is gray titanium, which describes the finish, not the metal. Anlinser's own product description confirms the material is stainless steel, not actual titanium, so don't let the color name do the talking for you. What it does deliver is a no-gap, seamless connector designed to integrate directly with the case instead of leaving a visible hinge point. Up to 8 removable links using an included tool so you can dial in an exact fit rather than settling for the nearest hole on an adjustable clasp. And a fit range of 170 to 240 millimeters, which covers roughly 6.7 to 9.4 inches of wrist circumference. Wide enough for most adult wrists on either end of the spectrum. Here's the catch that actually matters. Anlinser's own listing states this band is compatible only with the Galaxy Watch Ultra 47mm from 2024, and explicitly says it's not compatible with other models. That's not vague marketing hedging. That's the brand drawing a hard line, and it doesn't mention the 2025 refresh or the new Ultra 2 at all. If Samsung changed anything about the lug width or case depth on the Ultra 2, this is the strap most likely to have a fit problem, because the manufacturer hasn't claimed otherwise. Verdict: the best-built metal option on this list in terms of construction, but the narrowest confirmed compatibility. If you already own the 2024 Ultra, this is a strong pick. If you're buying for the brand new Ultra 2, treat this as unconfirmed until Anlinser updates the listing. Before we get to the winner, one more pattern interrupt. Notice that every strap so far has either avoided naming the Ultra 2 at all or explicitly excluded it. That's not an accident of this particular batch. It's the honest state of the market 3 weeks after a watch launch. Our top pick is the one exception. At number 1, the metal band for the 47mm Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra 2 and Ultra takes the top spot for one reason above everything else. It's the only strap on this list whose own listing explicitly names the Ultra 2 by the name Samsung just made official, covering the 2026, 2025, and 2024 case versions in one line. That's not marketing spin pulled from an older listing. It's the seller directly claiming coverage for the watch that launched this week, which is a meaningfully different level of confidence than should probably still fit. Construction-wise, it's built from stainless steel with a no-gap connector design and polished edges, using the same removable link adjustment system as our number 2 pick, letting you take links out for a tailored fit rather than relying on a multi-hole clasp. The confirmed wrist range is 160 to 210 millimeters, or about 6.3 to 8.26 inches, noticeably narrower than the Anlinser's range, which matters if you're on the larger end of that spectrum. That narrower fit
window is the honest catch here. If your wrist runs past roughly 8.3 inches, this band may not have enough adjustment room even with links removed, and the listing is specific that it's not intended for other Galaxy Watch models outside the Ultra 2 and Ultra 47mm line. So don't grab this expecting it to work on a standard Watch 9 or a Classic. It also doesn't carry the ventilation channels or breathable design of the TPU or nylon picks earlier on this list. So if you sweat heavily during workouts, this solid metal band will sit warmer against skin than either of those. Verdict: the most confidently marketed match for the Ultra 2 specifically, with genuinely solid stainless construction. Just double-check your wrist size against that 160 to 210 millimeter window before you buy. So here's how this shakes out by what you actually need. If you want the most breathable option for workouts, that's the Nereides nylon band at number 4. If you want a metal build with the widest confirmed wrist size range, the Anlinser at number 2 covers more wrists, provided you own the 2024 Ultra specifically. And if you want the strap most directly tied to the watch that just launched, our number 1 pick is the only one on this list that says Ultra 2 in its own name. Links to all 5 are below in the order we covered them. Check your own wrist measurement against each range before you buy. And if you already own the Ultra 2 in hand, drop a comment on whether the 47mm strap fit held up, because that's the real-world test none of these listings can give you yet.